Welcome into Illini Inquirer After Dark. It is technically Saturday morning, and I guess the sun will rise, Joey, but not for Illinois football fans, and understandably so, as Nebraska, who lost their first two Power 5 games, albeit Michigan, Colorado are decent teams. Nebraska just clobbered Illinois 20-7, physically dominated them mostly in the trenches, especially on their defensive side of the football. But Illinois never led against a team that came in here 2-3. And I have no silver linings of this game. I have nothing to say that will make people feel better, but we're still going to talk about this, Joey, because this is a disaster of a season for Illinois, starting 2-4, 0-3 in the Big Ten. Maybe expectations were a little too high, but this is terrible football. This is bad ball, as Jay Lehman would say. Illinois' offense, 7 points in year 2 under Barry Loney Jr. The defense did put out some fires, but the special teams, an absolute disaster tonight, which they had been a solid, bright spot so far this season. What a disaster of a game. What a disaster of a 6-game start to the season.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at the drive chart. I'm trying to figure out where to start other than this is just a total mess right now. Offensively, it's bad. You're coming off 2 embarrassing losses. Purdue, the point spread was embarrassing, 44-19 to your former defensive coordinator, and you come in here, Nebraska team ain't very good. They don't like to throw the ball. They can't throw the ball. They have a lot of holes on their team.
They weren't any good tonight.
No, they tried. They tried to go full Nebraska, and they couldn't. Illinois couldn't make them do it. You just lost back-to-back weeks to 2 coaches in their first year at their programs. Matt Rule has a college head coach. He's done this before, but he is in a total rebuild situation in Lincoln. Ryan Walters obviously inherits a Purdue team that went to Indianapolis last year. They lost a lot of pieces. These teams weren't expected to be what Illinois was expected to be 6 weeks ago. And where do you start, Jeremy? That's the thing. I looked at you during the game and I said, what's the biggest concern? And you, everything.
Everything. And I'm pretty even keeled, Joey. You saw me. You're sitting next to me all night. I'm harumphing after the first.
You sounded like me when one slight thing goes wrong in my life.
Because I'm tired of watching bad football. And this was up there with Beckman. This was up there with Lovie Smith, with some of the Ron Zook things we'd see. This was not Brett Bielema ball. This has not been Brett Bielema ball. What Brett Bielema did his first 2 years, and I include that first year where they went 5-7 and had some really disappointing losses and some decisions you second guessed. There's barely decisions we can even second guess that would have made the difference in a game because they're not competitive. They just lost by 13 points to Nebraska, got outrushed by Nebraska 158-21, and they make these mistakes over and over again that is just – for the first time, this looks like a poorly coached team. And I say that with all due respect for the staff, because I thought coming into this year, there's a really strong staff. Brett Bielema has put together really strong coaching staffs his first couple of years. Obviously, Ryan Walters, Kevin Kane are gone, but this has not been a clean team that has given itself any chances to win. And they are not talented enough to make all these mental errors, these turnovers, these penalties. We've seen it game after game after game. And that has led the combination of poorly played, poorly coached football, poorly executed football, combined with the lack of talent compared to, most of the Big Ten peers. But Nebraska, they're not more talented than Illinois. Purdue is not that much more talented than Illinois. So you combine those two things, Joey, and Illinois is a bottom Big Ten team. They're a bottom tier Big Ten team again, that quickly. It feels like all that momentum of last year has just been gone, and we'll get into Brett Bielema and his response. He knows it. He knows that momentum they built last year has really dwindled away, probably with the start of the end of last season, not getting the Big Ten championship game when he had the opportunity. We can talk about some roster things that I want to hit on at some point, but now with this, your recruiting pitch compared to last year, you can still sell Devin Weatherspoon, you can still sell Sidney Brown, but man, that momentum just feels gone, at least from the outside. We'll see if they can recruit around it, but we're not seeing a recruiting class that is, top 30 in the country or anything like that.
No, you can feel it in just the way, the tone when this program is talked about, which sounds like such a little thing, but it matters. It matters a lot for people to show up and get on board with what this is. That October run a year ago is a long time ago, man. That feels like a very, very long time ago. Can I get in real? Can we just start? Can I start on the offense? I want to just.
Can I want to play Brett
Oh.
Bielema? I feel like
Yep.
we need to play Brett
That's fine.
Bielema
Yeah.
before we get into this conversation because it puts context into it. My first question, I had the first question for Brett Bielema after the game, and he had mentioned on the radio, he'd mentioned to us, this is as frustrated as he's been ever as a head coach. So I followed up and asked him about that, and me and him kind of had an exchange, just me asking his questions, follow-up questions. So here's about a minute of Brett Bielema I think is important to play.
This is the most frustrated you've been as a head coach. Why and how do you fix that?
Yeah, well, it's right now in the moment. I've been frustrated before, but yeah, I literally want to know. Okay, if we didn't get it, what's the next one? What are we going to do on the next one, right? And that's what we got to get our coaches to do is move forward, right? Like, okay, the answer wasn't there. What are we going to do to change it, right? Like, and that's what we have to do. And obviously, as a head coach, that's falls directly on me, so we can't have the same repeated answers. It's just infuriating to have the same issues pop up over and over and over and again, and that's what gets frustrating.
So how do you approach that with your staff?
Changes.
What kind of changes?
Wish I could tell you right now. I'm just coming off field. I just know that when you have failure, you got to change and change the results. To change the results, sometimes it's change the scheme. Obviously, it's change a call. It's whatever it has to be, but we got to have better results than doing that change.
All right, Joey, what's your reaction to that?
I mean, that's as pissed off as I've ever seen Brett Bielema.
I think that's cathartic for Illini fans to hear, to see him pissed off, pounding the table, right? But if I'm the offensive staff, I'm not feeling very comfortable right now.
This whole press conference was offensive based, right? This
Yes.
whole thing was centered around yet another underwhelming game from the offense from start to finish. That's what Brett Bielema wanted to talk about. He was asked about the defense. He answered, but he knows we need to talk about the offense. That's what's the theme of that press conference.
Yeah, and I think I asked him what changed. So people asking me about why I haven't changed a play caller. I asked him what changed. And I think you can get from that and that Brett Bielema is probably going to start considering things like that. Now, Barry Illini, a year and a half, it's not working. I really like Barry personally. I think he gives us insightful answers, but the proof is in the pudding. It's in the statistics. This offense has regressed greatly. Is that all on Barry Illini? No. The offensive line is the worst in the Big Ten right now. I expected to be one of the best. Apparently, Brett Bielema didn't coming into the season. I wish he would have told us that. Of course, he's not going to do that. The offensive line is atrocious. And obviously, it's a makeshift group. The guards, you were playing Brandon Henderson, Hunter Whitenack, Jordan Slaughter today. You did miss Zy Chrysler. You did miss Josh Geske today. They couldn't run the ball. They can't convert on fourth and shorts. But, I mean, we've been hearing this over and over about the offensive staff putting guys in positions to succeed and not doing the same thing over and over. And then Brett Bielema kind of questioning, like, are my guys ready to make a different call? Like, that's alarm bells going off. So he said, in the moment, I don't have a decision right now, but this sounds like a guy that is ready to make big changes. What those changes are, maybe we'll find out by Sunday or Monday.
Yeah, I don't know, but I want to read. I'm not going to go through every drive, but some key spots to talk about from the offense. 12 total drives, 5 3-and-outs, 1 possession, the opening possession of more than 2 minutes and 41 seconds. All other 11 possessions were 2 minutes and 41 seconds or shorter. You had the highlights or lowlights, I guess. 45 seconds, 39 seconds, 53 seconds, 40 seconds. Those aren't, hey, just run it and get to halftime. That wasn't the case today. That was legitimate possessions that this team tried to move the football, and 3 of them lasted less than a minute. Another one lasted a minute, and only 1 lasted more than 3 minutes. That is, I mean, not only – obviously you're not scoring points, but to not sustain anything, that is an absurd number.
23 minutes on the field? 23 minutes on the field today.
6 of them came from the first possession.
Nebraska is handing you this game. Your defense is putting you in position to potentially come back and win this. Like, you had legitimate chances in the second half to win this game. Your defense, because of things by you and the special teams, the offense and the special teams, Nebraska started their drives 5 times in Illinois territory. They scored 10 points off of that. The defense played well enough to win, albeit against a terrible Nebraska offense. Like, that offense is bad. Nebraska's a bad football team. They would have lost probably to almost anybody else in the Big Ten. Illinois offense could not sustain anything. They couldn't convert when they needed to convert. And whether it's the play calls, personnel, whatever, it's not working. The offense is just broke right now. And it's sad to see, Joey, because everyone was so excited for the season. This is probably the most surprised I've been because of Brett Bielema, what he's done so far, and because they did have some key pieces in the trenches coming back. This is probably one of the most disappointing seasons I've covered. And there's been some disappointing seasons, right? Like whether it's you didn't win this game or you didn't win this game, this has just been a total failure of a season. I mean, you're 4th and 4 Hail Mary prayer throw away from being 1-5 to start this season.
Yeah, I mean, with your one win coming against a rebuilding FAU team, you can go further. You're a Miles Scott interception, a Miles Scott pick 6 away from losing that Toledo game. However you want to break it down, there's a number of key plays there. I didn't, we should also address this. People are asking on 4th and short, why not quarterback sneak? One, they don't feel comfortable with them sneaking, which we asked last week. And then I asked today, do you feel comfortable under center at all in any capacity, whether that's getting Caden Fagan running downhill? And then no, they're not comfortable under center. You're going into a season where you're not comfortable in any packages under center. That is, like, I understand you have interior concerns, but there's nothing under center you feel comfortable rolling out there. That's kind of alarming to me.
Yeah, and it's the point where, I mean, we can drop the bowl talk, we can drop all that. We can talk about youth movement, and there's some things about that, but you also saw the problems of a youth movement. Zach Tobey, I think, had a busted coverage on a huge 3rd down conversion. I'd have to go back, but there was a busted coverage when he was in it. It looked like it was on his side. Kanari Wilcher on the kick return replaces Aiden Lawfrey. There's a sky kick, and he's not yelling to anyone apparently, and no one else knows that it's a sky kick, and all of a sudden the ball goes over to Nebraska. It's 2 touchdowns in 10 seconds. The game's over. I mean, the game was basically over at that point. I don't know what happened on that punt block where Illinois got. I don't know if it was Nebraska just ran the right play or Hugh went off in his own. I don't know, but those things just can't happen. That's just terrible, terrible execution, Joey. So I don't know how it gets better. How does it get better? We'll see what Brett Bielema, whether that change is a coordinator, if it's a position coach, if it's just changing their philosophy about what they do with the same coaches. I don't know, but the fact that they've talked about it, like Brett Bielema comes into the press conferences and says, we got to change this, or Barry Lundy says, we got to change this, and nothing changes. That's not a good sign.
That's kind of what I got the vibe from Bielema when the clip that you played and in real time. These aren't, oh, wow, wait a minute, the offensive line started playing poorly now, or like these are things that we talk about all the time. Like we're almost running out of things to ask Brett differently because it's the same thing over and over. And I think that's what is frustrating because you see it, right? You see it in short yardage. They had a short yardage. They tried to barge last week at Purdue. It didn't work. They tried 2 times. If I would have told you when Brett Bielema got hired that they'd have the ball literally kissing the goal line for 2 carries and not get in, like no one on earth would have believed me. That is a play you've got to score. You've got to get that momentum. You had a really, really good drive, like a very, very good drive. Despite the false start to start, you go down, you march downfield, you overcome that, and you can't punch it in from an inch and a half. Like that's mind-boggling to me.
And Brett Bielema, he said it's painful. Like that's what he is. That's what he is. And that's why he is so pissed off right now. And he should be, because every Illinois fan is pissed off with the brand.
But he didn't take it like it didn't. You didn't have to prod him to get that out.
No,
like that to me is a very telling thing. Like he came in ready to rock. He went on his post-game radio show ready to rock. Like I know press conferences are never going to please everybody. That guy said what everyone has been saying.
That's what I like about Bielema after the games. He says what he's thinking. He admits I'm emotional right now, but that's what you need to hear. But now it's more of like people will just say talk is cheap. He's paid to talk in front of these microphones and in front of us so that you guys can hear how he feels. He's portraying the right emotions, but now it's like now you got to make the moves to fix this. And the fact that he hasn't had the right moves, whether it's with his offensive coordinator or with his defense coordinator or with whatever coach or whatever his personnel is. And I want to get to that, Joey.
Hold on real quick. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to just chalk it up to him saying, well, I'm emotional right now. You and I have covered him since the day he walked into, like, he is the most calculated person with a camera or like, I don't chalk that up to just being emotional. There was a lot of realness and truth in what he
Yes.
said. Like, I don't want anyone to hear that and go, oh, he's just mad after a game. He
No.
knows, like, he has got a
That's the
plan
real
every
deal.
time there's a microphone or a camera in front of his face. He's very, very calculated. That's why when he says those things, you listen, right? You have to listen, because that was a very intentionally orchestrated press conference.
You know, I said it with you earlier in this week in the podcast, and I said it with Jay on Monday. I said, I feel like there's a huge moment for his program, and it is. There's a huge moment for his program. It felt so, like, first year, you just felt competitive, felt competent,
He
right?
bought a lot of goodwill.
Yeah, and you recruited decently, you got it in state. You're in year 3 and you're going downhill. That's always a dangerous sign for a coach, and it don't get any easier, Joey. It don't, like, next year's schedule is not easy. Oregon's on the schedule instead of USC, I guess. So I don't think that's a win, to be honest with you. And the talent is only getting better. You know, Wisconsin's going to be a year into the staff that probably is going to win the West based on what we see. Matt Rule, Ryan Walters might be in bowl games, and you're not, and they're going to recruit off of that. So it's not going to get any easier. So that's why there's a really scary moment when you thought this was going up and that at least you could sustain it. That was the story of this season, is can they sustain success? They haven't. They haven't been able to do that. And I want to get to this before we take people's questions. The staff didn't have a really good offseason. When you look at the additions of what they added to the roster, it is, besides Luke Altmaier, there's just not a ton there. Nicario Harper had 17 tackles today. I don't know if he had a great game.
PFF's not going to be kind to him.
Yeah, I doubt it. And your internal evaluations, like, listen, we know they wanted to go get Avery Jones in the transfer portal, and boy, they could use him. Sorry to bring that up.
He doesn't play guard or tackle, though.
But, I mean, I don't know if center's a great position for you based on what I saw tonight under center, right at the goal line.
That's fair.
But if you thought offensive line was an issue going into training camp, how did you not try to address it even more? Like, how did you not try to add 2 people? Now, Desmond Schuster, maybe they didn't know he's going to not get cleared right away, and now he is cleared. But I don't think he's the magic bullet to it. Defensive back, you're playing a freshman now because your veteran Tyler Strange struggling. Linebacker, are you athletic enough? Right? Defensive line, are you deep enough?
Running back, you had a great sell. A great sell with Chase Brown, NFL 5th-round draft pick.
Should you have gotten
all of those yards? We talked about it, right? We talked that we understood they liked their depth. That depth is tested. Josh McCray's out for the season. Reggie Love, that was news. That's pretty significant news today out of that press conference. Reggie Love leaves the game with injury. You're down to 3 backs. Caden Fagan, true freshman. Redshirt freshman Aiden Lawford. Nick Fidanza, who's bounced here, there, and everywhere positionally on this team. You're lacking depth, and you had a really, really strong sell in the offseason to try to go out there and get a running back. They didn't do it.
They went the JUCO route. They went the JUCO route.
Corner defensively, yeah.
And who's playing?
No one.
None. They ain't playing. Ain't making an impact. Like that's a big error. It's a big error by the staff. I mean, we're 6 games in now, and we can look at those things and say he's going to have to get really aggressive in the transfer portal. And yeah, the NIL dollars, like, listen, someone's going to free up with some of the guys who are going pro. And let's mention that. I feel bad for Johnny Newton right now. Keith Randolph, don't know how serious that injury is.
He came back in, it sounds like. I don't know that I saw it.
I know he was kind of hobbling around and kind of went out after that. Isaiah Williams deserves better. Isaiah Adams deserves better. I know he's not playing really well at right tackle, but he's not a right tackle. He's a guard. So I feel for those. I feel for this team, but Brett Bielema's got to find some answers here. I don't know what that answer is going to be, but maybe we'll have one by Sunday or Monday.
I don't know. It's a tough sled going to Maryland and then hosting Wisconsin before bye week. And that's, Brett Bielema talk changes. What will that look like? We don't know. And will it happen? If anything happens, will it go before bye week? I don't know. I don't know, man. But it's like, I feel bad. We're sitting here. I don't really have this, like you said to start, like, I don't have a silver lining for people. And it's 12:30. I don't know that a lot of people want one, right? I think they just want to be mad. And that was fair.
It should be.
Very fair. Very, very fair, justified, reasonable, all the above.
They should be. Nebraska fans who have been the joke of the Big Ten West, not the fans. The fans are awesome. But Nebraska, who's kind of been the joke of the Big Ten West, came in here and there was a "Go Big Red" chant. It reminded me of late in the Lovey era, of just those losses that were just like, man, not even competitive.
I will say there was a point in that second half where it was somehow still 2 possession forever. And I thought, man, maybe they will. Like, maybe they'll come back. And then I thought, what do you even say if they do? Like, there's still almost nothing to feel good about. Even had they, I mean, it's a win, right? Like, there's, I guess,
it's a win.
Inherently that, but yeah, you don't give it back. But like, even at that, it's still like probably wouldn't have walked out of Memorial Stadium feeling particularly great about things.
Yeah. All right, let's get to Isaac Ambrose is our producer's questions here in a little bit. We'll get to the questions on the live chat here, but first, let's hear from one of our sponsors. For unique and comfortable Illini gear, well, Homefield is a premium collegiate apparel based in Indianapolis that emphasizes their commitment to creating incredibly comfortable, officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. They feature a growing collection of over 150 colleges to choose from, including, of course, the University of Illinois. So go check out homefieldapparel.com because their designs are super unique because they delve into the archives and history of each school using unique logos and iconic moments to create thoughtfully designed apparel. I'm scrolling at homefieldapparel.com right now with their Illini gear, and they have 1989 Fighting Illini basketball long sleeve. They got the Flying Illini logo, the script Illinois. You can get the pants, the joggers, that 1970s script, or a nice hoodie. They got the 80s Illini football helmet, the 2004-05 Illinois basketball logo on a vintage crew neck, the Ringer retro tee, the orange Ringer tee with Fighting Illini basketball on it. Go check these guys out. Because not only is the design fantastic, but these shirts, guys, are incredibly comfortable. Homefield is all about authenticity and nostalgia. So give their site a look. It's not the typical Illinois gear you see. You can find them at homefieldapparel.com, where you can see their selection of colleges available, of course, including Illinois. And guess what? Our listeners get 15% off their first order with discount code Illini23. Again, 15% off at homefieldapparel.com with discount code Illini23. Whether you're looking for Illinois football gear for this season or Illini basketball gear for the coming season, check out homefieldapparel.com. All right, Joey, just some quick questions from Isaac Ambrose, our producer. Most shocking part of the loss and why?
The rushing. The rushing attack. Like, I thought Nebraska's rush defense, I know where it was ranked, thought it may have been a little inflated given who they had played this season, but Illinois ran 19 times for 21 yards. That's 1.1 yard for carry. This isn't some like Luke Altmaier got sacked and lost 30 yards. He lost 3 total yards. Caden Fagan, 5 carries, 15 yards. Reggie Love, 7 carries, 9 yards. 1.1 yard a carry. That is that's
team.
Almost difficult to do.
I wonder, a research project, when was the last time Brett Bielema team ran under 25 yards in a game? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. The special teams miscues for me. Block punt, the Canary Wilcher, sky kick, not having anybody get that. Like, that's just not, it's freshman, so I don't want to be too tough on him, but that's like a lack of awareness. That's just stuff that like just can't happen. Just can't happen. If you're going to put somebody in that position, like they got to know those things. So I know Aiden Lawfrey has not been able to have returns. Reggie Love was banged up, but man, that stuff just can't happen, Joey. All right, next one. Who's an Illini standout in the loss?
Pass. I'm kidding. Probably Dylan Rosiak.
Dylan Rosiak was good. Yeah. I thought Dylan Rosiak was good. I thought the wide receivers were kind of a bright spot. Isaiah Williams couldn't get couldn't get deep on anybody, and part of that was the pass rush. Pat Bryant, nice little bounce back, Joey. 4 catches, 76 yards, made a hell of a play. Casey Washington made a nice play. That was the frustrating part. You're able to pass the ball a little bit on these guys, but that's about it. That's about all I got. Johnny Newton was still good. He was still good. Man, I feel for him. All right. Player series that created the momentum shift.
It was Nebraska scored 14 points in 10 seconds of game time. That was it.
That's it.
Like
it was the sky kick and it was the 4th and goal. Not getting it. Easy.
Hold on. Can we dive into that really quickly? I have to find it. Nebraska puts together this. I don't even remember how they got the ball.
It reminds you of Purdue in that third quarter, right? All of a sudden, it's like, whoa, this game's a blowout. All of a sudden, how did that happen?
That's right. It was a very long drive for Nebraska. I have a 14-play drive, 1-yard touchdown. They kick off, then obviously that sky kick, and then their quarterback runs completely untouched for 25 yards. I mean, no one touched him, and he scored a touchdown, 14 points in 10 seconds. That's remarkable.
Did Nebraska win this game or did Illinois lose it? Illinois lost it.
Oh, God, yes.
Nebraska tried to lose it. Second half, Nebraska was awful. Awful. Like, their offense wasn't even good in the first half, really, except for that one long – I guess they had 2 long drives, but one ended in a field goal. Nebraska – I think it was Nicole Haarberg tweeted out the drive. Nebraska in the second half, here it is. Their drives ended fumble, punt, turnover on down – or no, it's Illinois, sorry. Fumble, punt, turnover on downs, punt, interception, downs. That's for Illinois. Nebraska in the second half. Punt, field goal attempt, fumble, interception, fumble, end of game.
They tried to go Nebraska. They tried to go full Nebraska, and Illinois couldn't make them pay for it.
Yeah. All right. Most surprising rotation players that got minutes. Brandon Henderson's probably number one.
Yeah, that's number one for me. There was nothing else really.
Zeke Holmes played more than I've seen him play this year.
I thought Bielema was kind of pulling our leg on Wednesday when he mentioned Brandon Henderson. I didn't know that he was a true freshman, and they put him out there. And I thought that was telling. He was and it wasn't one possession; it was a firm rotation with Hunter Whiteneck.
The defense played well enough to win. I'm still shocked at how little we are hearing about Gabe Akis and Seth Coleman this year. Just not a lot of disruption out of those guys compared to what they were last year. And you see what Purdue's outside linebackers are doing right now, and it's just a stark difference, man. Belief level 1 through 10 that Bielema can finish strong like 2021. So belief level 1 being the lowest, 10 they're going to turn the season around and make a bowl game.
Oh my God.
2.
Yeah, I will, I say 2, because this team just hasn't looked very good. There's a 4-game stretch at the end, say for Iowa. It's at Minnesota, against Indiana, against Iowa, or at Iowa, and against Northwestern. I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything, but if you're looking for any sliver of hope that maybe that's your window, but even that only gets you to 5, I suppose. So be
shocked if you won one of the next 2 games. Be shocked.
Yeah,
at Maryland, home against Wisconsin. Who won the picks to click? Jeremy had Casey Washington and Dylan Rosiak. Joey had Fagan and Randolph.
You won.
I guess I won the defense. Do I win with Casey? He had a bigger play than Caden. Just needed more touches. Caden would have had a touchdown probably if you gave it to him.
I asked Brad Bielema about that, and correct me. We haven't really talked about this, you and I, since then. He basically made it sound like it didn't matter how far or who the personnel. The offensive line wasn't going to give them a half a yard, and I think it drove them insane.
What will be the spread next week at Maryland? Ooh, that's a good question. 15 and a half?
I bet it'll open.
Maryland looks like a 9-win team right now. Illinois looks like a 3-win team. I'm being kind.
15 and a half feels right. It's double digits, yeah.
And just to reiterate, injury updates, nothing on Keith Randolph, but he kind of came back. And Josh McCray is out for the season. Reggie Love, that kind of looked like a severe injury. We don't know yet what that is. But running back is getting very, very thin.
I want to add one thing quickly to rehash. Isaac asked one of the surprise rotations. Wasn't necessarily a surprise, but we did. I have to check PFF tomorrow when it comes out, or later tonight, I suppose. We didn't see a lot of Tyler Strain after that opening drive or so. They went Zach Toby, and for pluses and minuses, but I thought that was very, very notable that we did not see much of him.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some of your questions before we get out of here and start writing. Fly the dub. Have we converted a 4th and 1 all season? Didn't they convert a 4th down with Caden Fagan on that drive, Joey? Did that happen? Or am I
tonight?
Yeah, in the first drive. Let me see here. No, it was a 3rd and 2, so it wasn't a 4th down. I think they've converted. They have. They converted
They've
actually had a decent 4th down conversion rate this year, which is interesting. It's just their short yardage is awful.
Yeah, they are 8 of 15 on 4th downs.
Yeah.
That I don't know if that includes tonight. It does.
All right. Kamala, BB record last 10 games against Power 5 is alarming, not just tonight. Not been a good stretch. Not been a good stretch. So they lost 4 of their last 5 last year against Power 5 teams, and they've lost 3 straight. And the difference, though, this year, Joey, is it's not even competitive. You are losing to Power 5 teams so far, to 4 Power 5 teams, an average of 16.5 points.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's competitive for a second until it really isn't. You know, like the third quarter at Purdue, I don't even know how to describe what that was. Penn State, they were competitive for a minute, but then it just crumbles. Like when it unravels, it unravels.
And Brett Beam was brought up. It's a lot of complimentary football. The offense is just putting the defense in terrible positions tonight. The special teams put the defense in terrible positions. So, I mean, you're sometimes getting one unit to play well. That's a bad place to be as a football team.
Bielema closed his press conference and said, I'd love to know what they started their drives on.
Did you tell him? I think you tried to tell him.
I did try to tell him. The average was their own 37-yard line for Nebraska.
Yep. I thought that was low. Like I thought I was thinking
it felt really low.
Felt really low, but they started one of them at the 1 yard line. The 2-inch line. Right? So like it would have been like 50. Like after that, it's probably like the 50. All right, Dan, I never see Jeremy ticked. I hate watching bad football. And this has just been bad football. That's what, like, even that first year, Joey, I'm sitting there going, they are competitive in every game. Every game at the end, even if it doesn't go Illinois' way, they give themselves a chance to win. That's what is so infuriating about this team is they're not even giving themselves a chance. I won't say who, but like before the game, I saw an Illinois staff member, and I said, you guys just need to play some clean football. And he said, that's it. And you're not even giving yourself a chance. Penalties, turnovers, mental errors. Those are things Brett Bielema prides himself on. And then you add the tough, smart, dependable. Like they are not dependable. They are not smart right now. And they're not tough. They're getting beat at the line of scrimmage, whether that's personnel or just physicality. Like they're not doing. I asked Brett Bielema on his last question. You're not any of those things right now. Like what do you do about it? And he gave the answer you're kind of talking about. He's pissed off about it.
Yeah, he should be. He should be, because that's just not what he's tried to build this program on.
Chase, Jeremy, you asked the Nebraska guy what rules year 4 would look like. What did you think Bielema's year 4 would look like when he was hired? What do you think it's going to look like now? If you'd asked me before the season, I would have thought, man, they're going to be really good in the trenches. Offensively, they'll kind of evolve and get better and better. Right now, year 4, they're losing their best players. I mean, is Isaiah Williams going to come back for another year of this? I doubt it. I think he's going to make the leap after potentially leads the Big Ten in receptions and receiving yards. Johnny Newton's going to be gone. Keith Randolph's going to be gone. Isaiah Adams, Julian Pearl are going to be gone. I don't know, man. I'm going to predict you to be a bottom-tier Big Ten team. That's a scary place to be for Brett Bielema, and why he's ticked off and why he's probably going to make a big change at some point to his staff, I would imagine, Joey. Like I think that's fair to speculate at this point that between now and year 4, there's going to be some kind of change.
I think that's fair, and I also think they need to get in the portal heavy this offseason. Was
that a fake punt? He looked like he started to run.
I mean, that's kind of what Hugh Robertson does. It's about every game, I think. Was he going here?
Well, and a lot of times that's called, right? So you can get a little bit more time, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was if that was a fake, I would be truly floored. That was just a disaster.
Anthony Barrett, our DBs can't locate the ball. How many times is the ball going to be in the air and the DBs cannot haul it in? Like there are so many opportunities to have even more takeaways tonight. Earlier in the game, in their territory, I mean, Haarberg just kept putting it up for them. Like he's not a good passer. And the only ones he was really completing was where they were wide open. But I mean, man coverage, it can be difficult. I will give them that. But just, man, some of those balls that we saw get picked by Kendall Smith or Kirby Joseph or Quan Martin, even Spoon, when he got the opportunity, would get them. I mean, obviously those are great players, but that's this defense. That next step has got to be getting takeaways to set up a short field for your offense that is really struggling. But yeah, that was another point tonight. I kept looking at like, when are they going to get these takeaways?
They got them, but they were empty calorie takeaways, right? It felt
late.
It was less takeaways in Nebraska, more just like, God, go for it, take it.
Kevin Chili meme. Court. It's 1:30 for some of us, Joey. I stayed up for some J&J therapy. Hopefully this is cathartic.
What up, Court? Good for you, man. Thank
I'm
you.
sure Carpy's yelling more than us and calling for firings. I don't like calling for firings, but like I do understand, like, yeah, that stuff should all be on the table for Brett Bielema.
Well, I think we have to react to what we hear.
Yeah.
Brett Bielema, again, very calculated press conference.
Philip, hard to be disruptive when we only send 3.
I thought they blitzed.
I need to get metrics on this. I need to find some place that gives me metrics on blitz percentage, compare it to last year. That's my goal this year. But man, the defense was not the problem tonight. It just wasn't. Chase, we're going to lose a lot of talent this year. How the hell will we even improve next year? Developmental program year 4 looks kind of bleak.
Portal,
You got
baby.
and you got to hope your first couple recruiting classes take a leap, right? Like their development, which we thought was a strength, that's got to take a huge leap. Like there's no more excuses because you'll be in year 4. You'll have 3 of your recruiting classes. You'll have plenty of chances to hit the portal. And now they do have to hit the portal really hard. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason to cover from that because they got to change their ways there.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything else we got to get to here?
I literally added nothing right there. Someone said we need a beer. We look defeated. Well,
Dom, what's up, Dom?
Dom, what up, my guy?
He's just sad today. I feel sorry for Josh Whitman. He wants to win so bad, but Brett is a total disaster. I don't know, but yeah, Josh Whitman. I mean, if you're Josh, you got to have conversations with Brett. And if you are like, all right, if they're going to have another offensive coordinator change, like it'd be his 3rd offensive coordinator beyond Joey in 4 years.
It's tough optically. There's a financial component to it. Someone would sign up to take the job, right? Like there's no doubt there. But there's a lot of moving parts that would roll into that.
Yeah. I think that's all I got. Dan, as professionals, is it hard at times to hide your emotions while asking questions? No, that's our job.
No, I don't really have any emotions other than trying to get you guys answers, right? Like that's the key. That's the biggest thing for us. I don't have any. I can go here. Have any emotions to it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. Like the wins and losses, like probably doesn't disrupt my day as much as other fans, except that it disrupts you guys, which I'm interacting with you guys and you're miserable, and I'm interacting with coaches and players who are miserable. That's not fun. That's not fun at all to be around.
We say that like this is reality. Like we know everyone involved here is humans, right? Like so, like yeah, when you see, you feel bad for people struggling. Like that's just human nature. But beyond that, not really.
All right, should we answer this one? Whose seat is hotter, Bart Miller or Barry Lunny?
I think that's fair, right? That's a fair question. I think
the way Brett's talked.
There it is.
The way Brett has talked, it's a lot about calling plays. It's a lot about how they're structuring the offense. And he's been with Bart for so long. I know he's been with Barry for a long time.
He also said that they knew coming in the offensive line was going to be a question mark. So I don't know, like, does the expectation more match reality with the line than the offense in totality? The issue is, I mean, the line is a huge problem for this team offensively. So it's a very fair question, but I don't. Also, Dan, you don't make us miserable, buddy. You're here at midnight, 1 a.m. kicking it with us. You're good.
It's gonna be an interesting to see what Brett Bielema has to say Monday. If he has anything to say before that, Joey, like because this felt like a coach that was ready to. It just felt like a coach that was ready to make some kind of change. I don't know what that is. He said it himself. But if there were a moment, like the only other moment I felt like this was when Illinois went to Maryland in 2018, which you're about to go to Maryland again. And Illinois lost 63-33. And it was like Hardy Nickerson is not working. And it was clear. And then Hardy Nickerson quit, which he quit. He just quit. He just didn't want to do this anymore, which is probably a good thing for Lovie Smith. They came back and I think they beat Minnesota here, killed them 55-31 or something like that. But I also felt this way. I think it was Tony Peterson after the Iowa game. And then they offensively couldn't do anything. And Brett Bielema kind of made mention of play calling and needing to change something there. And that this is just what it reminds me of from the outside. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of days.
I haven't seen Brett like that. Like that demonstrative, that matter of fact. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally pounding the podium. I just haven't seen him like that. And think, as you mentioned, everything like this isn't just because the offense didn't get 2 yards today, right? Like this is the ramifications, the trickle down of what a 2-4 start. 2-4 start looks like with a road game at Maryland and home against Wisconsin.
Eric, hoop season is upon us. Yeah, for most Illini fans, it is. I don't blame them. We'll probably do more focus on basketball moving forward too, just because it's sad, man. That's sad because there was so much hope coming into the season, and it felt like warranted hope. So that's what I'm leaving you guys with tonight is that. But thank you for listening to the Illini Inquirer podcast. To all our live YouTube listeners, we appreciate you guys. Hit the like button on the way out if you can. I know you're frustrated with your team, but we appreciate your support here at the Illini Inquirer podcast. We'll continue to do it. Joey and I are going to D.C. Joey's first trip to D.C. We gotta pick a museum or two that you want to get to, Joey.
Send in recommendations. Let's send in. We need food and museum recommendations.
Beer recommendations too.
All of the above. I don't want to create a thread, but you know how to find us. All these things are critical by next Friday.
Yeah. So we're going to enjoy DC for at least a day before we got to cover a game against a very, very good Maryland team under familiar guy, Mike Loxley. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Illini Inquirer podcast. Give us a follow, rating, review wherever you get your podcast, and find us on YouTube as well. Hit the like button, follow us, subscribe to us, all of that stuff. Everybody have a great night. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you next time on the Illini Inquirer podcast.